So I've been a graphic designer for 24 years, and I wanted to make a video about, um, you know, what am I gonna, what am I gonna do now? This is it. Um, yeah, I'm starting this YouTube channel because lately, or for the last, I don't know, like 5 years, I realized that, like many people on YouTube that are making similar videos, that I want to do something more than just work 9 to 5, and I thought that when I was beginning my career, I thought things were going to be different, and I would be fulfilled. And in the beginning, the first year, I was happy in my work. I didn't get a break, a full-time job until 2 years. About 2 years after my graduation, I had been working part-time in a printing factory. I was working in a pizza place to, pay the bills. And finally, 2 years after, I got a break. And just for context, I live in Iceland, and probably like in many places, there is a lot of competition for jobs. But I managed to get a step in or foot in the door at a newspaper here in Iceland, the biggest newspaper at the time, doing ads and taking care of ads in the paper. So it was not like a grand design job, but it was a start. And I took the decision that, I don't know, like subconsciously, or I don't know why I did it, but I took the decision that I wanted to gain as much experience as I could in my job career, and try to gain as much skills, and so I said to myself, I'm not going to be working more than 2 years in each workplace. And I don't know why I did that, but it felt something that was right for me. I did not want to become, like we say, like a furniture in the corner of a company that has just been there for 25 years. I had a lot of ambition. I wanted to be the greatest designer in Iceland, and I know that I'm not, but I knew that if I told myself that and I strived for that, then I would probably be able to, do this for a living. And I know that I'm not the worst one either. So yeah. But now I'm 48, and it's like I've been thinking, I just had kids, like, again, pretty late. I have one from an earlier relationship, but so I became a father to 2 little children recently. And I can feel like that I'm getting closer to some, in 1.5 years I will be 50, and that is something that it's like, becoming. I remember when I was 30, I didn't feel a thing, and 35 was a little bit of a milestone. 40, it wasn't so bad, but it was a little bit strange. I mean, for me, it's just a number, but we all get a certain amount of numbers. But I mean, I feel like I'm 25, but 45. Then it was like, okay, now I'm halfway to 50. And 3 more years, and now I'm 48, and you just it's hard to describe it. It's not a bad feeling, but it's like the how your viewpoint on things, on life, and time and money and relationships and everything, it just starts to shift. It's very interesting, actually. It's not a bad thing, but certain things happen. Life happens, and relatives start to say goodbye, and things get a little bit quieter in that sense. But I am fortunate. I have a perfect family, and I'm very happy in that sense. And I'm actually working as a graphic designer now for a sports association as a contractor. And actually, I feel okay. I'm not working that much, but I'm making enough money, so I'm pretty happy in that sense. But yeah, if you go back to that time when I was working for a newspaper, I worked there 3 years, and I got an offer to move over to a publishing house that had like all of the biggest newspaper. No, the like magazines. So there were like fashion magazines, interior design, like many more, like history, and so it was a step up for me. So sorry, I'm not refining my videos. I'm not doing a lot of editing, and I don't want them to be, too perfect. That's one of the things actually you start to embrace, and when you go to art school, and it's like it's hard to do things that are imperfect. It's very easy to fall into the trap of refining things and trying to have them look perfect, but at the same time it's very easy to make them look sterile. And so I think I really like these videos on YouTube that people are doing that are like just no cuts, no jump cuts, no like this extravaganza, just listening to normal people talking. I really like these slow-mo things, and that's something I want to do also. So I went to work for this magazine company, and I had a really good 2 years there also, and I felt good. It is like graphic design was my identity. I looked at myself, and the first thing I said, I'm a graphic designer. I was really into photography. I was doing painting. I was doing brochures in my free time as a freelancer. I had a lot of projects. I was also working for like a fashion company, taking pictures of clothes, like clothing photography at the time. And just things going really good. And then 2008 came, and the problem with the advertising industry, and this industry I'm working in, and the creative industry, is oftentimes, when things go south in the economy, then this industry usually takes the first hit, because companies, they tend to cut expensive very soon, and advertising budgets is oftentimes the first thing to go, and that ties directly into what I'm doing. And so I remember at the time, after it was 6th of October, and if you haven't heard of the economy crash of Iceland, it's one of the biggest economic, just think of the biggest bankruptcy a country can have, basically. And things became very difficult for a lot of people. A lot of people lost their businesses, their houses, and jobs. And at this newspaper magazine, there were a lot of people that lost their jobs. I remember every Friday they would call in, and it was not a big workplace. I mean, it was, I guess, like a medium size for the, like, you know, for Iceland, like 50 people is called medium, I would say. But like every Friday, there were like, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, or 4, or like for a certain amount of time. And then, you know, I remember people coming just crying, you know, out. And yeah, it was just not good. And my girlfriend at that time was actually working there because I met her there, and she was working in selling advertisements, and her salary was commission based for a great part. And we just remember looking at each other and you know, and my job was taking care of ads and designing ads for the magazines. And I remember just going from being really busy every day to working 2 hours a day because there was basically nothing to do, because it was really hard selling ads at that time. And so we took the decision to quit. Actually, we quit our jobs. We just said, like, this is not, we weren't feeling good at job, and we decided that we were gonna go into our own business and do something for ourselves. To cut the story short, you know, I don't want to go too far into this, but we created a company that was like a tourist magazine, because actually at the same time or 2 years later there was an eruption here in Iceland that, you know, made the country pretty famous, and a lot of tourists came. We created a travel magazine. We were able to make a living of that for 1 year, but then people stopped paying their bills, and we had to close it before things went bad. So we actually managed to make a living on that. And yeah, and then it's like things got better with the years. We moved to Norway. I started working for an ad agency there, and for a few months we came back to Iceland and started working for it was like a charity fund for like helping kids in Africa, and we were doing marketing and advertisements. We quit shortly after, and I've been doing agencies, a big online store. I've been working for a media company, an internet agency, and yeah, in the later years, in the last 10 years, I actually lost my job like 3 times, or like made redundant. Let's say that, you know, restructure. So yeah, like I was working for 2 years for a company that was doing ads for supermarkets here in Iceland. It was in 2017. That company, I was pretty happy there, but that company lost the contract to that supermarket, and in the meantime, or after that, the owner said, you know, I'm just gonna close the company because it's not worth it anymore. And suddenly I was just out of a job, just like that. So I needed to get a job. This was in 2018. I managed to get a job with as a graphic designer for one of the biggest media companies in Iceland that, you know, was running a lot of radio stations, TV stations, and this was like doing graphics for the 8 o'clock news or 7 o'clock news in the TV. And it was one of the most demanding time I've had as a designer in my career, because not only was I supposed to create ads, they had to be ready every day, like around 5:30 or around 6, because we went live at 7. So every day you knew that you were going into a very busy day. It was a very busy workplace, of course, like you would expect. So every day I kind of dreaded going to work, actually, because I knew it was going to be really, really busy, and it was a really loud workplace, like an open environment. We were having, at the same time, I remember just immediately after I started, we were having Mike Pence coming from America to a public visit. It was like a huge event here in Iceland. We had to cover that for many days. That was only the beginning, because later on we had big events like we had really bad storms in December of 2019. We had avalanches, we had earthquakes, and we had COVID. And soon after that, we had, like, again, a lot of earthquakes here in Iceland and volcanic eruptions. And so these 2 years in this media company, it was just crazy. And I remember, it's not difficult to remember, but in the summer of 2020, when we were well into this COVID thing, and I remember we came home one day from a trip to the countryside, and in the evening I got like a massive heart palpitations, like irregular heartbeat, and I never really, got the. I didn't understand what was happening. I had to go to the hospital, and I was like pretty scared. Like, this was something I'd never. It felt like I was having a heart attack, and I was there for all the night, and I got some pills. I had to see a heart doctor, and he said like it was nothing dangerous. This is pretty common, and he couldn't really say why, but at the time. But later on, we had like a phone call, and he said like it was probably stress induced or like related. And I was like, I didn't feel that stress at the time, because I don't know, like when you're in work, you're in work mode, and you're just designing. But in hindsight, like 3 years later, like last year, I was actually thinking about everything that was going on at the time. And of course this time in this media company probably had like a big impact on my emotional health. I see that now, and if this was stress related, then probably there was a direct correlation with this incident, because I don't see any other thing that was really going on in my life at that time. And I see now that, like, how, I had to get a job at the time. I really needed a job, but I immediately recognized, in day 2 that I didn't belong there. I really didn't. I really didn't want to be in that environment, but I had to. I had to. It was close to home. The salaries were just normal. I thought of this like as a great opportunity to, to build my career, to get more experience, to make my CV look better, my portfolio. So that was like the beginning, and since then I've been working for 2 more companies, and the same story. The made redundant. The other one, after 6 months, I was like, and the other one after 3 years, which I really thought I was doing a good job. I know I was doing a good job, but it just came down to money, basically. The last workplace I was with, it was an agency, a small ad agency here in Iceland, and they said like that basically just came down to money, that they had to let me go. They didn't want to, but there was no other choice for the company to survive. I mean, I choose to believe that because I knew that things were not going so great. They were good for the first 2 years, but I had noticed that there were less meetings, and it looked like companies weren't willing to take as many projects. So, but still, it always is a bit of a shock. I have learned though in my career that I just look at things or companies as a workplace. I made sure to not look at it like my family. I made sure to not take things personally. I just do my job, and then I go home, because you never know what's going to happen. And I for sure know that that's how things are. You are replaceable. You're only as good as your latest project, and you're just hired to do a job, and that's it. As soon as companies don't feel that they need you anymore, then you're out. And I'm not saying this. I'm not bitter. This is how things are. But then I started to, and as you get older, you start to like, okay, so I'm 45. Age is a factor when applying for jobs. Most definitely here in Iceland. I was just reading a news yesterday that people over 50 are just not getting as many interviews here, and I guess it's the same things in other countries. I don't think our job market is any different than in other countries. It's just smaller, and I'm almost there. I probably already my age is a factor, because companies they want a certain amount of experience, but I don't think they want too much, because they want to have people like doing as they're told. They don't want people, I think, rocking the boat too much, or people that are know their rights, and they want people that probably younger people that are easier to control, I think. And it's like that's how it is. I mean, youth is I think appreciated more. The society today is obsessed with youth, and I'm not saying I'm I'm not old, but I'm not 28 anymore. So I just I like 10 years ago, I just started to look into things. Like I started, side hustle, because not at the time, not that I thought I wanted to do it full time, but I just thought it was, the thing is, like, even though I consider myself, I don't look at myself like as a graphic designer anymore. I look at myself as a creative person. But what I realized 10 years ago is that there is a business side, a businessman inside of me also, that I feel I'm really interested in business, but I never really knew how to combine business and art. That for me, that was something that was kind of hard. And this video is getting so long, and it's 9:30. I have to go to work. I'm gonna cut the video now, and I'm gonna continue this tomorrow, because guys, I have to go bring in some money. Okay. Okay, let's try this again. Yesterday I had to cut the video because I had to go to work, and this is like a two-part video, but if you hadn't noticed, I've shaved in the meantime. What I was talking about was how I was trying to combine my design skills with somehow business, and that I was noticing that I really wanted to build a business or some kind of side hustle, and I don't know exactly why. It just around this time I think I just needed more challenge. I was starting with like learning HTML, motion graphics, and I don't know, I've always had the urge to create and build. And so around 2014 I created a digital product after buying a course. I actually managed to make some money with the knowledge I learned from the course. It was like teaching how to create a digital product, how you could create web pages and sell stuff online. And it was a success the first time. I tried to do it again, but it didn't really work out because the system I was using and the marketplace, it was just, you had to build a name for yourself, and I was like doing this with another guy, with another marketer, and I quickly saw that this was something that I wasn't going to focus on, but I learned a lot from buying this course and making money back from it. And so I went into creating ebooks for a while. I created a lot of ebooks with pretty little effort. Well, they are still selling to this day, but they've never made any money. It's like pocket change. It has allowed me though to use that money to invest in certain things, like all kinds of equipment and software. So I always use that money to invest into other things, buying courses, and so it's a little bit of money, but not a lot. And so I quickly saw that was not something that was like sustainable, I would say. Also, you are trapped inside of Amazon's ecosystem, and you don't really want to do that. What I learned, what I've learned since, because I have spent not hundreds, but probably thousands of hours, in my free time, just watching courses, watching YouTube videos, reading, trying new things, and just always developing my skills, both my graphic design skills and business skills, like marketing skills. That has helped me to I think be to be competitive, or be in the job market and get jobs. So in the last 9 or something years, I have had to change job. I've lost my jobs because company went out of business. I've been made redundant 3 times, but I always managed to get back on the horse and get another job. And I think that's a big part of the reason is that I invest my time into growing, so where I am today is that I have still not been able to create something that has been life-changing for me, to be able to quit my 9 to 5. So, but I am at the point where I think, I know what I have to do. I want to build a brand for myself, like a business, and I also want to do YouTube. And I think I'm at the point that I somehow want to, use this YouTube channel to maybe help you and others to do something similar, because with the current situation of the world, with AI, I think the reason for people to start their own business is because I think having your own business, not being an employee but being an employee in your own business, is probably the best protection right now. I could be wrong, but you know, having your own business and investing maybe, because you know, guys, I don't know how the situation is going to be in 10 years, and I really would like to have making at least some money on the side by then, because that's how I feel. So currently I'm actually in a good position because I'm working as a sole contractor for it's like a public association for sports, and they I have a lot of freedom. Like, I don't have to work so much fewer hours for basically this similar salary I had before. So it gives me more flexibility to try other things, to use my free time, you know, both with my family and make these videos. I'm using like a small window in the morning to record these videos before I go to work, and because there isn't any time in the evening, so to do this there's no privacy or like, you know, people are sleeping, and yeah, so the mornings are best. So yeah, if you want to, you know, join me in this journey and you're interested in these, in, you know, creating something for yourself, maybe a business, a side hustle, YouTube, whatever, let me know in the comments. Thank you.